Welcome back to the Nexus Games Europe. We just saw Russia put on a convincing show versus Ukraine. And now we move to the next part of that group. It is going to be Sweden versus Portugal. I am, of course, still joined by Kendrick Swish and Bakery. So, we cut ourselves off a little bit before talking about some of the members of Team Sweden. What else do you guys have to say about Team Sweden?
So the thing is, Sweden has always been a Heroes of the Storm country that produces a lot of talent. We know Fnatic and the individual members, how good they are and were. This team that we see here, the national team of Sweden, comes very close to that in terms of, you know, former team members of Team Watt looking extremely promising. And ever since that team fell apart, Tetra, I think we haven't really heard a lot from those players, but finally they're back on stage.
There's a couple of the players who have been competing on other teams. For example, I believe Nuti was on that Bushido Esports team that had a pretty solid run for the Open Division. I might be remembering that wrong.
He's now with Team Singularity, isn't he?
He's now with Team Singularity.
So Nuti and Henning are both Team Singularity players. So I think that whole team is actually very well represented in this.
Exactly. They have Carsey on Team Hungary, Lampy on Team UK. We're missing one player. Who's the last one?
The only one who isn't here.
Very true, and he would have been on Team Sweden if he was, but in this case, he is not.
Yeah, very cool. Can they copy the success of Fnatic on a national level here with their home teams? That is the question. Or is Portugal going to be able to thwart these plans? Now, to talk about individual players on Sweden a little bit more, Henning is considered to be one of the strongest European supports we've got, although he too has his weaknesses. Most importantly, my personal opinion, the hero pool, mostly in Uther or Rega one trick.
Yeah, definitely. So I think in terms of how strong Sweden are, this match is going to be very important because we've had a lot of teams. At the end of yesterday, we had France making a statement. Today, we've had both Poland and Russia very clearly showing how strong they are. Can Sweden do the same?
And that's what we're going to be looking to see, but first we're going to be seeing what the battleground choices are going to be and what the bans will be. So far we have yet to see either the Haunted Mines or Black Hearts Bay. Towers of Doom banned out by Portugal here.
All right, I mean, not too bad of a choice.
Black Hearts.
That leaves the Haunted Mines open if Portugal wills it.
It's possible, but it's not happening as the first pick is going to be Tomb of the Spider Queen coming in by Portugal.
And again, picked by the quote-unquote weaker team, Bakery.
That's no decision I like Portugal. You know, I want to believe in you guys, but we've seen that was almost one of the shortest games in Tomb of the Spider Queen history that we just saw from Russia.
Yeah. Only 2 minutes off the record, to be fair. They were very close to getting the record.
Yeah, and at the same time, we did also see Poland earlier in the day and France before looked very convincing on Tomb. So. Not sure about this one.
So in order for Sweden to be a decent team, they need to win in under 6 minutes? What's the record right now?
Well, Fnatic, for a very short amount of time, held that record for the fastest game. At the mid-season brawl, actually, they picked Sylvanas, which Breeze played, actually. That was a very fun game. And they were able to hold it for a bit, so maybe Team Sweden here can claim it back for the glorious nation of Sweden.
Jokes aside, though, I think Sweden will be in a very good spot here if they draft accordingly. And from what we've seen earlier in Tomb of the Spider Queen, you know, early game is all that it comes down to if you want to establish that early game lead. And that didn't make a lot of sense, but you know what I'm trying to say. Early game, you can snowball ahead. You're the stronger team. You're denying payments for the enemy team, and that's what they're going to do. Genji ban is just casual, you know. You want to deny those resets. You want to deny any of those crazy Dragon Blade combos. I don't hate it.
So guys, we want to hear what you think about this game using the hashtag in chat SEWin for Team Sweden if you believe they are going to win, or if you have that belief in Team Portugal, it is hashtag PTWin. Right now, it is 50-50. It is up to you guys to change that. Or maybe you guys really do have that crazy belief in the dark horses, in the complete wild card, as you guys described it, of Portugal.
That's to be a very dark horse, though. I'm going to be honest here.
No, I think dark horses are teams that we don't know much about, but we know enough, and we know that they can challenge. Yeah. Portugal, not quite in that category, I would say, but definitely a wild card. No one knows what to expect from that, and they're taking a long time on these picks. Could they be doing something a bit off meta, do you reckon?
So Bakery, from a former pro player and team captain's point of view, what do you think does a team like Portugal need to do in a straight-up disadvantages set up here? What team composition style can they play to really not fall behind?
So I think I would open the draft very standard, and they have. They've opened with a strong opening for Tomb, the Veigar bringing the wave clear, the Gul'dan bringing the wave clear, both of them very versatile heroes as well, not locking them into anything. And that's what I like to see. I think once you see a bit more of Sweden's comp and you get your later picks, then you can start saying, okay, let's look to really focus out on one member, or let's look for counters, or let's look for something off meta that we know we can perform really well on.
And as a heads up to the audience out there, Portugal as a country, you might not recognize the names, but there are some Portuguese players out there who you may have heard of. For example, there is one playing for the Mainz Sanity lineup who usually perform fairly consistently in Heroes Lounge and the Open Division. They have yet to take one of the top spots, but there are still some players out there, so we do know that the country itself does have a little bit of an export when it comes to esports skill.
Yeah, there's even some names I recognize from my daily Hero League adventures. So that means they're going to be in the Master range, probably not at the Tippity Top where bakeries to be found. But Holotype, for example, is a player that I'm very happy when I meet him in ranked, because he's very friendly, he's very polite. He normally takes care of his teammates, always asking like, which heroes do we want me to play? What can I fill? So this supportive mentality, I think, is very important in the new team that only got in last second to replace Romania.
So Sweden here, bringing out the Ariel Valor. Very old-fashioned, and the first Ariel we are going to see in this tournament. She got banned in the last series, but the first time seeing her picked.
Yeah, a bit of a surprise for sure. I do like the fact that the Ariel seems to be representing Swedish colors there.
Oh,
yeah, that's a really nice touch. But it's going to be interesting to see how Portugal deal with this, because this is a composition with weaknesses, and it's not easy to play either. So this could be Portugal's ticket to abuse that Ariel Valor.
Yeah, and when there is that potential hyper carry double support style featuring a Vala, oftentimes wave clear and early game siege pressure is the way to tackle that, because, you know, this is basically the only chance to really get ahead, because in the late game when there's a lot of protection available, a Vala is very hard to deal with.
Anna is the one who is removed. Very strong hero when combined with the Gul'dan, especially because it does also empower his self-healing, which he reduces himself sometimes with his own talent.
Do you think
you can get a nice combo there?
That could have been a shutdown for potential Shogal plays?
It definitely could have been, but Anna Gul'dan is a well-tested combo. Anna is fantastic against these Ariel Valor comp, because you hit a sleep on the Valor or you hit on a support, and that leaves them vulnerable for 3 whole seconds, where you can really burst them down. I am slightly confused by the Chromie ban from Portugal. It's a decent ban, it's good on the map, and Sweden are probably a team that would play it, but at the same time, that maybe shows unfamiliarity with the Swedish lineup here, because they are definitely looking for a second support for this Ariel Valor, and they probably wouldn't have the space to pick the Chromie.
Quite possibly. I mean, they could go double support and Chromie as well, but leaving ETC as the solo frontliner, but that would leave him potentially vulnerable in terms of the solo lane and might maybe force them into a 3-2 laning setup.
Yeah, and a lot of crowd control now coming into the mix here for Portugal, with that Malfurion, with that Muradin as well. And Muradin has undergone a couple of changes that made him sometimes even more threatening than before, especially the so-called Bruiser build is something we get to see a little bit more often. Haymaker, we saw it last game, almost carrying the Ukrainian team back into it. I'm not sure what to think of Haymaker still on the professional level. Sometimes it looks really good, sometimes it looks very uneventful.
Haymaker's a very hit or miss ability.
Yeah.
It's a point and click, so I think it'd be quite easy to hit. But apparently, no, it's very weird.
It's a hit and hit, but not always in the right direction.
The great thing about Portugal here is they still have a very solid setup, and they've adapted very slightly. So they have 2 supports themselves to deal with the double support from Sweden. They have, again, they have the wave clear on top side. They have Muradin, who has kill potential. Malfurion, who can follow it up with kill potential. So they're actually looking solid.
And I call Henning on Team Sweden and Uther Rhaegar one trick. Prove me wrong, probably going to go on that Ariel. And very unusual to see a single support Vala Ariel. We're not used to seeing that ever since the Chinese E-Star veterans had brought that double support Vala style into fashion here. But this time, I think it could work. They've got a lot of damage, a lot of pressure. The Sonya, once again, very safe picks too because of that self-sustain. I like it so far.
I do believe Rask can support as well, actually. I might be wrong on that. So there is a chance that it could be, maybe, like you said, Uther Rhaegar run trick. Maybe he's just trying to make us so wrong that he goes to a different role. And that is the fun of some of these compositions, some of these teams, because they are simply done by Hero League ranking.
Exactly.
You can sometimes get a team, but there are some teams that are 5 assassins when we ask them what role they play. And this before they met each other in some cases. So several players are playing off roles in this tournament.
Yeah, very good observation. Sometimes you will have to fight for your favorite role in the heroes necessarily. But we see another Zul. This time around, though, I think it makes a little bit more sense because now you have tons of rotations.
Yeah, definitely a much more sensible Zul pick, I would say. This has a lot more space to work, and hopefully it doesn't get stuck bot lane against Sonya.
Very true. I mean, I'm thinking maybe it's a 2-3. For Portugal, Gul'dan and one of the supports potentially in the bot lane with him, and letting the Zul rotate to get those maximum skeletal output.
Yeah, how would you do the lanes for Team Sweden, though? There's potentially 2 heroes that could go for the solo bot lane, probably going to be Sonya. And then, do you go for a ganky playstyle here with a single support Ariel, or do you go for a weird balance and just not let the Zul push?
I would definitely be looking for a rotation. So I want my Grimming clearing very quickly, I want my Valor clearing, I want the Oriole sweeping as well, and just rotate very quickly. Try and keep on top of the Zul and not give much space for the kind of rotations that Portugal would need to take towers and get a foothold in the early game.
So with Zul, we also have to talk about level 10, heroic abilities. Skeleton mages for a long period of time had been the go-to choice, but with an Ariel soul support who traditionally struggles against poke AoE damage, the Poison Nova gets a whole new different set.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Oriel solo support is a definite weakness, and that's what Portugal need to look to exploit in this match to actually have a real chance to win. They need to abuse the fact that there is no cleanse outside of an Aegis. They need to abuse the fact that when someone is Aegis, they can be bursted out of it, and they need to abuse the fact that Oriel does not have out-of-combat healing.
Okay, final thoughts. Who do you think's going to win?
Having said all that, my vote's for Sweden.
Joining Bakery here, Team Sweden it is.
I am also with Team Sweden, as is the chat. 69 to 31% in favor. It's a lovely number. Great number, as we are getting ready to head into Tomb of the Spider Queen, the first game of this best of 3 series. And Kendrick, would you like to introduce the team on the left?
It would be my pleasure. We've got Rask on that ETC for Team Sweden. Daikarn is playing the Greymane. Knuti, my favorite nickname of the tournament, plays the Vala, heading on Ariel, and no surprise, Skog is here on the Sonya.
Whereas on the right, it is going to be Psyche. He is going to be playing the Gul'dan. Zabida is playing the Muradin. Holotype on that Zul. Caps is playing on the Rhaegar, and his name is not in caps, so slightly disappointed. And Godstorm is playing on the Malfurion.
Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Can the Zul this time unfold all of his magic, or is the Necromancy not the path today? As Bakery said earlier, it makes a lot more sense to pick the Zul this time around. Also keep in mind there is a double root combo with a stun by Muradin, so they can really punish targets out of position. Very, very nice here. And once again, keep in mind that Ariel does have her weaknesses as a solo support. So Gul'dan with a spread out poison damage, maybe even a Zul with a Poison Nova later can really put additional poison on top of that. So much AoE damage potential. Let's not forget about the Malfurion Silence as well. Could always cripple enemy supports.
Malfurion Silence could be absolutely devastating here, and there is also the consistent attack speed slow of Zul if he's in the fights. There is the counter of that, though, the potential for Ariel's blinds really coming into effect here, if that is the talent route she chooses to go for with her level 13.
Yeah, definitely true. So there's a couple of trump cards that the Portuguese team can get up their sleeves. However, Sweden, of course, is the favorites. They are the more seasoned team, the more experienced team by far. And speaking of experienced teams, we are not wasting any more time, guys. We're going to keep you entertained.
Yep.
Sweden versus Portugal, game number 1.
So as a heads up, this one was not actually, because this amuses me, this was not a DC like we sometimes see with these pauses. Someone accidentally unplugged their own mouse, which is why they had to pause here. So we are back into the game here. We're seeing the cooldown reduction on the Sacred Swing coming in for Ariel. So if he... Oh, hang on. Greymane. Oh, Ariel.
Okay.
Greymane escapes. But yeah, Ariel in the late game, if she's able to fight in a grouped up area, she is going to have a brilliant time.
Yeah. And Twitch users out there, make some noise for your favorite teams. If you want Sweden to win, then of course go for that hashtag SEWin. And for Portugal, go for hashtag PTWin. Very important if you want to show your support to your national teams.
Exactly, well said, Kendrick, as we do see Zabina taking a little bit of CC, little bit of damage, but he's able to... Oh, hang on, is he able to pull back? No, he is not. Vala with the final shot. Well done.
Yeah, that was very well done. In terms of Vala builds, by the way, we haven't really seen a lot of variation, a lot of deviation, because
we saw like one level 1 talent difference.
Yeah, exactly. We saw the auto attack. Yeah. The auto attack talent here giving her mana, etc. But the Hungering Arrow build overall still proves to be the most solid one, despite getting a couple nerfs in the past.
Exactly. Teams seem to like it. It has good burst, it's mobility, it's always fun.
Exactly. And it's good against Web Weavers too.
Yes, it is. It's very good against Web Weavers. That single target damage is nice. So, we see Daikon throwing in just a couple minutes, not even using his cocktail yet because he did not have the stacking talent, and he was seeing as he was just about to get it, he didn't want it to be on cooldown if he found the opportunity straight away.
Yeah, and of course keep in mind Murden, we haven't really seen him that often in the Nexus games thus far, but ever since he got that rework, landing Storm Bolts is going to be so important because he can stack those up, and once you have 25 stacks, you're going to get a double stun, if you will, and you also have, of course, reduced cooldown on it.
So let's talk about the laning setup. We're actually seeing Zool doing a rotation here, rotating between mid and bot, but mostly staying in bot. He will just rotate to mid if he thinks his team's going to miss any XP. He also now needs to very much leave, and in fact does so. But it's a 2 to 3 lane setup for both teams here. Both teams with 2 people in the bot lane.
It looks like Gul'dan actually wants to go the more burst damage route, going for a Fellflame build instead of the Echo Corruption, which is what actually I would have expected against an Auriel Soul support, because the more poison poke damage there is over time, the more Auriel is going to struggle. Similar to an Uther sometimes, where heroes like Lunar or Gul'dan can really cause her a lot of headaches. But I'm not saying that the Fellflame build is bad by any means. It gives stronger wave clear even, and in the late game especially after level 16, more damage overall.
Exactly, you're going to have a very good time with that ability if you are able to land it. And of course, it makes a lot of use out of the fact that Auriel no longer, since a very long time ago, has that level 7 cooldown reduction on their healing. So getting the burst in before she drops the heal can be a big deal in this kind of scenario.
Absolutely, especially if you follow it up with the Zool and Murden lockdown. Super solid, maybe even a silence on Malfarian, and poof, there goes an enemy target that got focused. In the meantime, though, Henning is doing a splendid job keeping his allies safe and sound, knocking people against the wall. Henning in general is a hero or a player that I really want to highlight, because I've been playing a lot of games with him lately. He's always a very friendly guy. When I see him in Hero League, he's like, Kendrick, my dude, what's up? And like, yo, my boy, and, you know, pretending like we're the cool kids on the block.
You are the cool kids on the block.
We are?
Yeah. I mean, okay, so you are now associating yourself with him, so if he wins, you are now cool. There you go. That is the commitment.
I'm going to call him my boy if he wins that one.
Okay. What if he loses?
If he loses, I'm going to have to get my next IKEA bill on his account.
Okay. As we do see the engage onto Henning here, trying to finish him off, but he's able to move backwards. Not enough damage on just Zabina here, and like was 2 out of range here. Zabina getting punished for his attempt there by Nuti and Rask as they're able to finish him off.
Yeah, in his dying breath, though, he allowed Gul'dan to complete his Fellflame quest at level 1, which is very nice. So now increased projectile cone range, if you will. Portugal is getting a kill. And out of all the underdog teams, I really have to commend and give kudos to them. They're looking pretty solid with the draft they've got.
Not that far behind. They're a little bit behind in XP, but nothing significant. They're holding themselves together. They're showing us some poise and some grace so far in this game.
Exactly, they're definitely keeping track. Of course, that Wet Mirror Wave is now going to go in favor of Sweden, and oftentimes the team that, you know, gets more damage done early on with those Wet Mirrors is going to snowball like crazy, so it all comes down to how many towers, how many forts they can snatch away with this.
What would be an average number, normally? We've been over this before, but what do you think is an acceptable amount of damage for a first Web Weaver wave?
Get all the towers in all 3 lanes.
That would be a very nice amount of damage, but with a hero down, that suddenly becomes much more difficult.
Yeah.
As we just saw Portugal picking up yet another kill, punishing Sonya in the bot lane.
This is basically the worst time for Team Portugal to lose a team member now, because there's still Webers pushing, knocking against the front door, and now you can see the XP count. It's just getting out of control. Level 10 is going to be around the corner. ETC could really capitalize on that, so can Sonya, and once those heroic abilities are locked in, it's going to get worse and worse for Team Portugal.
ETC and Sonya both back on their way back from base, arriving to continue to assist their teams. So 60 gems currently in the inventory of Portugal, but level 10, like I said, is just about to be hit for Sweden, who are short on gems, but with this level 10, they are probably going to be able to zone long enough to potentially get a second Web Weaver turn in themselves. So right now, it is just Portugal racing to 10 as fast as they can so they can try and make an interruption and attempt their own turn in.
Yeah, we see a very interesting level 7 talent on the Muradin. If you had asked me a couple of months or weeks ago if that talent was questionable, I would have probably said no, especially since there is a Sonya in the enemy team. So Skullcracker, back in its old form, granting attack speed as well, was such a solid counter to that. However, now losing that attack speed and also having other level 7 talents to contest with, and most importantly, heavy impact, not so sure if we're going to see a lot of value. But, of course, I would love to be proven wrong. I really want Sabina to have a good time against Sonya.
We will certainly keep an eye on it, see if it does work out. And with Avatar, of course, he is still exceptionally tanky.
Definitely true.
And the question we were concerned about earlier, what is Zul going to pick as his level 10? As he's currently holding it, he finally goes for the Skeletal Mages. Good interrupt by Ras, but he's going to get punished for it. The Horrify on the Ariel. She gets silenced. Beautifully done by Sabina, who immediately dives in to try and take down Dykar, trying to finish him up as Nuti is dropped by the poison damage. As good stun by Sabina and finishes him off as well.
So many gems being dropped here by Team Sweden, and that was just a symphony of crowd control.
Oh, yeah.
Everything from start to finish worked out. The fear from Gul'dan isolating Auriel, and then followed up with a perfect Twilight Dream to really prevent her from casting Crystal Aegis from start to finish. What a wonderful execution by Team Portugal.
Are the 31% of Twitch chat correct? Could their faith be well placed? As right now, Portugal, they are 1 kill ahead, and their Web Weavers have just arrived.
And this is where they can make a stance. This is where they can use all of their damage, all of their siege potential with Zul, with the Gul'dan. And Muradin doesn't even care the slightest about any damage. He jumps over the gate, almost gets on Henning here, who could use the Taming Strike to keep himself down.
Nuti using that strafe very early, just to try and drop some minions and do some poke damage, try and slow down this push. But it's had very little effect here, and as such, this fort will probably die. Yeah, pew and pew. There we go.
There we go. But once again, strong showing by Team Portugal, who also knows when to back off. They realize, you know what, our Malfurion is running low on mana. We probably don't have all of our rogue abilities ready by now, so why risk anything? Why not just take this advantage that we've played out ourselves and just, you know, be a little bit more patient, because now they know they can beat Sweden in team fights. It's not like they're going to have to play for their lives like the other underdogs in this play day. They can actually fight toe-to-toe with a stronger opponent. That's very good.
Portugal hype is starting to look potentially real as Caps is able to escape Ras, back to a good stun by Zavida. Zavida moving in. The Crystal Aegis is keeping ETC alive. Who moves in? The mosh pit hits two. Zul trying to escape, and he runs straight into that mosh pit. Zavida trying to zone away Scott to prevent him from getting onto the Storm. Caps still alive. They're trying to get onto Scott with Valor taken out. That's a lot of the damage. Twilight Dream kills off ETC, and the silence onto Henning, so he is in a serious trouble. The Stormbolt misses, and that will allow Henning to escape, but another 2-for-1 fight in favor of Portugal.
Big performance by Godstorm on that Malfurion. He continues to be my absolute MVP of this match. Not just does he provide good protection, good healing to his allies, but those Twilight Dreams have been on point.
Every time.
Every single time. And with that advantage Tetcher, they can now not only fight with a talent up, but with another Web Weaver wave at their side. And look at all those things. They're constantly pushed in because of Gul'dan, because of Zul. They never have to run all the way back and get them in there. They can always utilize them right at the get-go.
And they're getting their own personal quest done so quickly as well. Like Greymane is only on 8 stacks of his cocktail, whereas Malfurion, he's done with Moonburn, whereas the Gul'dan, he's already done with Fellflame.
It's Hammer Time and almost completed.
Yeah, but his Hammer Time's almost finished, and Jailers on Zul is already finished. They are rushing through this. Echoes of Death as well is going to be the potential healing reduction later on for Zul. Right now, Portugal, they are in control.
they're absolutely in control. 2 forwards have now fallen already, and top lane, oftentimes considered to be the most important lane because it is the boss lane, still standing for Sweden. So that's definitely something in their favor that's going on. But we gotta be honest here. Portugal is playing a lot stronger than many people had anticipated.
They're over a full level ahead. Rask having the power slide to make sure he doesn't take too much. Look at that, those skeletons running in. The lovely trait from Zul combined with that Jailers, making that bloody dead. Actually, I think it's his level. I think it's his level 7 as well. Good start on the Dwarf Toss, but Cleanse Ancestral maybe a bit in advance, but it worked out.
Caps on the Rhaegar is playing this very safely. He utilizes the big burst healing off Ancestor Healing when his target is sitting at 50, maybe even 60% health sometimes, because they realize within the blink of an eye it could all be over, and that's really the sign of a good Rhaegar player, not to wait until someone is dropped to 10%, 5%, and then use the Ancestral for the good looks, but no, be safe, use it early so your Warriors can continue to keep up the pressure.
So this turn-in does happen for Sweden. Their chance for a turnaround. This mid-fort has very little hope of surviving. Let's be honest, it is made out of paper mache and baby powder at this point. It's not going to survive a long time. However, if they could have picked up a kill early, that would have really stunted the push of Sweden, but only Muradin was far enough forward and Nuti with too many allies near him to be taken down.
Yeah, and you can really see how much additional protection there is now available for Team Portugal. We have the Earth Shield available for Rhaegar. Combine that with one of the highest health pools in the game on an Avatar Muradin, and you're going to have a hard time to kill that Dwarf. In the meantime, Knuti is going for a cute little play here, double arrow to get additional damage done and get that middle forward 100%. And this could be the big moment for Sweden to capitalize the Wedgears, to get back in the experience.
They have to make something out of this bot lane. Top has been cleared already. Zul did a great job here, but the rotation from Portugal is a little slow, and as such, we'll see Sweden get this bottom 4 at least.
Exactly, and Portugal, they realize that they can make a big move soon. 6 minutes around the corner.
Careful now.
Holotype,
Bone shields himself, he stays alive.
Yeah, that's good. Okay. So didn't even have to use the Ancestor Healing. For a moment I was like, okay, is Cat's gonna use it? Because they dropped so low, but no. He managed to basically save his trigger finger for now.
It's all with a little bit more damage here, going for Bone Spear.
Yeah, that's
at level 16. It's a go-to one, I would say.
Yeah, amplified damage pretty popular as well because of that vulnerable effect.
Jailers as well, just to get the skeletons just way on the target.
Explosion, definitely a good choice sometimes as well, especially if you win for the Skeleton Talons earlier on.
And of course, the Corpse Explosion can be great for a bit of PvE, which this map has a fair amount of, clearing the minion waves if you start new structures. Muradin should attack through this, drops the Avatar, in fact. Gonna try and focus ETC, who's in the Aegis, stays alive. The fear is good, but he's rooted, so he doesn't move too far out of position. Psych is in trouble. Scott is putting on the pressure, and that really does zone out Muradin. Zabina, double stun, and Ancestral. Portugal refused to die.
That was a crazy team fight. Splendid job by both Warriors actually managing to stay alive. Zabina in particular continues to be that menace. Nice cleanse here, really saving Holotype in the nick of time.
The Twilight Stream! The mosh pit was just about to go down, didn't even get the animation started, as Henning is being focused to 2 more deaths on the side of Sweden, and Portugal are starting to just creep even further ahead of one of the big favorites to win this tournament.
And I don't even know where they take all this momentum from. Seeing so many Dark Horse team fall to the big favorites before, we did not expect Portugal, probably the biggest underdog of them all, to perform this admirably well. We talked about their lineup having some really good Hero League Grandmaster and Master players in their ranks, but to make it work against seasoned Open League veterans like Sweden is... We cannot begin to say how good they play.
We can't call them the wild card anymore.
No,
they have officially reached that Dark Horse status, as we do see Portugal turning in, looking for another web weave wave, which they do have enough gems for. Here it comes. Holotype immediately moving in, adding some wonderful skeletons to this push. Boss did take a lot of damage though before they arrived, but now they have arrived to assist it, and that's going to put a lot of pressure. This keep will be under serious duress.
Yeah, they need to get this top keep because they're probably not going to get value anywhere else, because we saw Sonya taking care of the mid lane before, so that lane would get pushed back. The Wedgears would need a longer time to actually join them, and even the bottom lane is pushed in and has to fight Siege Giants. So very good defense here by Team Sweden overall, playing the macro game very smartly, making sure that all lanes are de-pushed, and now they only need to hold this top wave at bay, including Team Portugal, and they're going to be fine and dandy.
The Encore proving to be exceptionally weirdly annoying by this ETC, the double knockback. And you can see him here using it to zone the enemy team away so his team could kill the boss, so his team could kill the Web Weaver. And as such, that top keep survived. And because Team Sweden did push up mid and bot so much, those Web Weavers are very low. Their health bars tick down.
Yeah, they're basically useless. And I think the way Portugal should have maybe played it is they should have waited a little bit longer before they go for that turn-in to de-push mid and bottom themselves.
Yeah.
I mean,
or at least waited on the boss capture, but that's so
Or wait for the boss capture, but that is a risky endeavor. But either way, it was very hard for them to get that deadly value in. Look at Sabina. He's a mighty, feisty battle dwarf, and he refuses to fall.
Greymane trying to get something, and they do this time. They're able to take down Zul. Moshpit getting murdered. That's not going to do... Oh, hang on. They might get him. He's blinded. He is in full retreat. He does have healing static for a bit more sustain. Dwarf top for armor. Is the armor enough? No, it's not. The poison from the poison spear finishes him off.
Yeah, that was a beautiful kill and a very satisfying one. If I'm Team Sweden right now, I'm like, finally this guy is no longer in the mix because we were trying desperately to kill him early. 2 kills though, the early one on Sonya most importantly was crucial to winning the team fight. And that's one of the bigger weaknesses that the Portuguese team has to face. True ancestral is great, but it takes a while to really get rolling. And Malfurion, not really known to be the best burst healer anyways.
Yeah, they put all their attention onto keeping Gul'dan alive, and that put Zul completely out of position. He was taken out as the first kill in that fight, and as such, Sweden are beginning to come back in. They are just short one for another turn-in, so they need to go find a minion somewhere. Exactly. There we go, ETC's got one.
Get that minion in. Rask is going to join here. Still 5 seconds until the Murden is going to be back, so Sweden doesn't have to rush this, and they're exactly playing the macro game here once again. They're taking this mercenary camp. Mercenary camp's not really that important on Tomb, but if you have the time, if you can afford to take that, then, of course, going in synchrony here, providing pressure to multiple lanes is the way to go. Even Sonya's doing a good job going for that bottom lane. You want to keep those Wet Weavers pushed in as much as you possibly can.
We see Portugal, though, back as 5, and they are still ahead in XP. They are rushing towards their level 20 here. Then this is actually going to give them level 20 quite likely, because the minion waves will be joining with these Web Weavers. So this will this will just deliver Portugal the level 20, but like I said, that top 4th is almost certainly going to give it to Sweden too.
Exactly. Now they just need to be a little bit patient, Team Sweden, that is. They can't let Team Portugal engage with a 20 advantage because there's a couple of very scary talents. Most importantly, mortal wounds on Zul, I feel. With, as you said, the flowing death on level 13, you can really have multiple healing debuffs available, and if Auriel doesn't time her healing well, that AoE is going to go poof, and it almost never existed.
Exactly, but as both teams are just about to hit 20, there it is for Team Portugal, a little bit more in advance. Rewind, the mortal wound here, for Zul.
Very important.
Gul'dan yet to pick. There we go. Haunt, Malfurion.
Yeah.
That's an interesting one.
And keep in mind that the mortal wound doesn't just affect Auriel. There's a lot of self healing available for ETC, for the Sonya, even for Vala to a certain extent. So the more they can use it. Oh no!
Oh, the Haunt right into keep range. Twilight Dream gets so many. It's a massacre, Kendrick. They push through the Storm Shield for good measure. Henning is focused. He is dropped here.
That's a Scott
getting a counter kill. Vala's still alive here. Microing backwards.
They're gonna get them all.
They want to try and get more counter kills. Nuti goes down. Scott will be able to flee here, but that's still a 4-for-1 here. Sonya, the only one able to pick up a kill there against Zul.
Psych with the MVP play here on that Gul'dan once more. Those Horrifies are picture book perfect. They make me feel warm on the inside almost because it is so beautifully executed. And then once again, like almost in a classical violin concert, you have that Malfurion dropping that silence in as the perfect addition.
Yeah.
And what is Sweden going to do about that? Not much.
Malfurion didn't even pick Emerald Nightmare, but when your Twilight Dreams are haunted like that, then you are going to give nightmares to the enemy team. As Sweden, their spawn time isn't low enough that their game is not over yet, but that's the first keep of the game going over to Portugal.
Yeah, not sure if they can close out the game just now because death timers are not in their favor this time around though. And level 20 now being available for Team Sweden as well. Shield of Hope, I think, is going to be a big playmaker. Because as we said, all that healing reduction provided by Mortal Wounds, guess what? It doesn't affect shields. So there's going to be even more pressure on Henning's shoulders right now.
It only takes one team fight from Sweden
all it takes,
to turn all this round. If they can get a team fight, if they can get a wipe quicker than Portugal, because what Portugal did there is they got lots of kills slowly, and as such, the spawn timers for the most early dead people on the side of Sweden were low enough that they couldn't end the game. If Sweden could do the same thing but quicker, then they can in theory go through a keep and try to win the game.
Boss, of course, is also going to be a pretty hefty winning condition here, with both top lanes not really being in tip-top condition anymore. Especially Sweden's tower line took heavy damage. It's non-existent anymore, and the keep also took a little bit of damage in the past. So the boss is going to be a natural zone of contention here. By the same token, though, it's a very risky to start at this point of time.
Nice move here by Portugal. They are trying to reduce that risk by taking mercenaries. They've got Bruiser Camp in the mid lane, and they're about to have Siege Giants in the bot lane. They're putting pressure elsewhere to give them freedom. And if they can try and move all of Sweden away from that top lane, they can attempt to boss. If not, they can attempt to trap them as they rotate.
Exactly. That Siege Giant camp in the bottom lane can't be underestimated. The lane is open, basically, so there is core damage potential. And the moment Sweden sends one or two people to deal with that camp, it's going to be zone open, turn-in point open for Portugal.
There are catapults in bot lane. That could be a severe problem.
Catapults on top, exactly.
It really
That's
is.
A serious lane.
And just for the people who, just so everyone knows, stacking process is done. And you can apply that to any stacking talent in this game, as everyone is finished. And that's fair. Everyone's level 20. They have been able to do it.
Got it.
Red Square Weaver turn-in. With Sonya, like you said, clearing bot lane. That was a good time to do it. Good knockback by Raz, preventing Zabina from getting any more engaged potential.
You can really see how anxious Sweden was there. The moment Murden catches one of your teammates while Sonya is busy in the bottom, it may very well snowball into a catastrophe. So you can't be too safe. Using two abilities just to keep the Murden at bay was the right choice. But these web beavers, ladies and gentlemen, look at the skeletons, look at the minions. Everything is pushing in, and Portugal wants to go for that killing blow, Tetcher.
They do. At least they want more keeps. Keep the pressure on
keeps
with catapults. With this web weaver wave here, they should be good. Mid is in a little bit of a worse situation. They're not really going to have a huge amount of a chance to get that with the web weaver wave so far back.
Yeah, exactly. ETC getting out of harm's way, dodging the purple wave from the web beavers. Very nicely done. Every amount of poke now could be the difference. There's so much going on for Portugal right now.
Daikon having to pull back, grabbing a little bit of health. The web weaver's in the bot lane, and we're going to begin to harass the core as it takes its first shield damage. Sonya already down there, though, as we do see the rest of Portugal moving to mid lane. They are going to attempt that last keep with what little health the web weaver has left.
And that's the beauty of Tumor Spread Queen. Despite the fact that there's two keeps down against Sweden, all they need is one team wipe. Due to the short distance between each sides, each cores, they can definitely snowball back and rush another core, another keep, or maybe even the core itself. So at level 22, 21, so many minutes, 23 minutes into the game, death timers are crucial and probably the most damaging thing that could happen to a team.
The Haunt upgraded with the Horrify upgraded with Haunt, sorry, wrong way around, is available, and that is basically making every possible engage opportunity.
Early Crystal.
Aegis. He's in the root, taking a lot of damage, silenced, but still alive, and that's a huge deal here. But Horrify still available. If they go too far, there is the Horrify trying to separate ATC away from the rest of the team. They focus him down, and that is no more mosh pit. That is a huge deal as Portugal are looking for more, but Hollow Type very low as Nexus to use in advance. Do not let him get caught and exploded. Caps himself is low and is just playing very far back, dropping heals.
Sonya is the only frontline. All of her cooldowns to stay alive. They're trying 4 versus 5. They blow her up.
They got 2. Godstorm was too low, and he unfortunately put Malfurion in a rough position. As such, Sweden get a favorable fight, but there's not a huge amount they can do. The minion waves are really pushed up. They're going to attempt a boss with very low health bars.
So, on the one hand...
There's catapults on their core as well.
Yeah, catapults on the core. Sonya is great when it comes to fighting bosses, but guess who's not? Ariel. She does not have regeneration.
Sonya went back.
No. They can't do this. They need to abort this mission right now.
Sonya went back. This could be it. As Caps is focusing Nudie. The boss is about to die. The Zool damage is so good on the AoE. Here's Rhaegar holding the point. Just delaying, but then dropping down the strafe is huge. But that's it.
Whoa, and nobody's going to take it!
Sonya, go! Pick it up, get the gem! And the boss is taken by Skor! And GCC revives as well. He's going to clear up the minions in base. And Sonya is going to try and get some value out of this boss. 40 seconds for all 3 of those, Portugal members.
My goodness, I would call this a clean double KO. And Sonya, not only does she take the boss, she took most of the gems as well. She's currently carrying 36 of them. I mean, some of the members from Team Portugal are now back, but that was an insane fight. And most importantly, Tetra, it kept Sweden alive.
Sweden are still alive. There's still catapults in the top lane, though. They need to deal with that.
Yeah.
But they're still alive. Like we said, the catapults will be cleared up eventually. Sonya has just turned in what gems she has. ETC is farming up as well. They're doing everything they can. And most importantly, they now have an entranceway. That keep will not die, but it's it's as good as dead.
Exactly.
So now, if they can once again win one more fight, they can go back in.
Never lucky. 2 more auto attacks maybe by the boss and that keep would have fallen. But you can't complain when you're Team Portugal, because if only more people had died on the side of Team Sweden, they could have maybe taken the victory here. But now they have to recollect themselves. They got to take a chill pill, take a sweet moment here to really get all those cooldowns back. Very important. The Horrify, the Twilight Dream, those are the weapons of choice to really seal the deal in this game. But Sweden, they're fighting to the last man, or barbarian, if you will, that last game. But beautiful to watch. The Crystal Ages, though, I gotta criticize Henning a little bit. I feel sometimes he's using them too early, too soon.
Yeah, it's like the opposite situation that we're getting to Caps. Caps uses them early, and we're like, yes, really, really cool. But Ariel is potentially leaving her allies out of position there.
The thing is also, like, maybe I shouldn't be too harsh on Henning, to be honest, because that Zul is really causing him to have a nightmare on the battlefield. That mortal wound, all those sites causing so much trouble. It's really hard to sometimes not land your heals because you're always waiting until that debuff to disappear. So he finds himself in a world of pain, and maybe a second support, maybe a double support could have made things easier for him.
Quite possibly. That extra support is always nice when you are trying to be that hard carry.
Absolutely.
But right now, this is just so tense, dude. I don't know. Yeah. This game has been spectacular already. An insane performance by Portugal, more than anyone could have expected. And I'm happy that they've just done this well in this game. And guess what? This is game 1. No matter what happens, we get another game after this.
This reminds me a lot of the series between Italy at the very first day when they faced, I think it was, no, Finland. Finland, there we go. And nobody really had Italy on the radar. Nobody certainly had Portugal on the radar. And they're proving so many people, myself and yourself included, wrong. And they're really showing how much a team can achieve if only they believe in themselves and if only their draft is good, their communication is spot on. And Sweden, they must really feel a lot of pressure. One wrong move and the game could be over.
Exactly, Portugal. They are putting on the pressure. They are the ones who are further forward. Zul he's a little bit split from his team, but he's playing far enough back that it's not a big deal. He's just throwing extra skeletons into this lane, extra little bits of wave clear, tiny little moments that could be the difference between winning and losing here. But right now, literally the strategy for Portugal is harass the base, don't die.
Exactly, and you can see both teams playing extremely passively right now, and that is mostly because they simply don't have the resources or they don't have the measures to go for a turn in. Sweden, they wait for Portugal to show themselves on the map. And boy, do they show themselves. ETC trouble.
Decent Aegis this time as Rask is able to pull back. Henning needs to be careful. Detainment strike onto Muradin, who is really, really deep. Be careful, Muradin. As Syke continues to throw down some Fell Flames to zone out, gives the Beaters a chance to escape.
The cool thing about this Fell Flame build on Gul'dan is also, like, you very rarely see him die or out of position. That's because his range amplified by a large mile after completing the Fell Flame quest. He has a longer range, a bigger cone, and as such, it's really hard for Team Sweden to really get to him, to really nail him down.
It really is. Like, Muradin is being incredibly hard to pin down.
Yes.
ETC is, with the help of his team, quite hard to pin down. And Ariel, these detainment strikes have been on point. Good dodge by Duty. Stun on Muradin. Ancestral Lands, he stays alive. ETC's really far back. The fear was huge. And then, mosh pit to try and turn it round. He's staying alive. Ras finally goes down. Storm Shield is keeping the rest of Portugal alive. They're moving in. It's 3 kills to 0. And Portugal move for the core. Sonya, though, has a high damage output, but the health bars are all completely full. Sonya moves on to Syke to try and focus him down. The last-ditch effort for the defense. Henning is just swinging away as many times as he can. Then Shield of Hope just continuing to heal up Storm. The last chance they really are, but it's still 30 seconds. Henning is alive, but the core goes down.
They
did it. GG as Portugal take game number 1. Oh, number 1. That's the thing.
talking about upsets and how the Nexus games in Europe have completely turned crazy, we are going to have to mention that game. It's a bigger upset, even in my opinion, than the Italy versus Finland game. Sweden considered to be the top 3 of the table. Portugal considered to be even lower than Germany or other teams that were completely unknown, and they just did the impossible.
Bakery care.
That was absolutely insane. So I was talking about how much I like Portugal's draft. I should have had faith in their players because their players were even better. What a fantastic game one.
Yeah. Brilliant game one and a long game one as well. Back and forth between these two teams. We are so excited for game number 2, but right now, Bakery, what can you show us? You are spoiled for choice.
I have some good replays for you guys. So the first one is going to be actually highlighting Godstorm, the Malfurion. What a fantastic play. So you see him root. Now Oreo was locked into the Q animation, so he could not dodge the root, so he then gets feared after. And look at Godstorm. He's running at the enemy team and he hits the 3-man silence to basically just completely win the fight. And Portugal, they were down in the early game. This was them getting back in the game, and they took control of the game from this point. As it turns out, Valor does end up getting chased down and does go down as well. So this was a huge fight and a fantastic play by Godstorm the Malfurion there.
Yeah.
However, the next replay I've got for you is a team fight, and we had a lot of interesting team fights this game. So as we go into it, we see the fight start, and it starts really badly for Portugal, and Cecil straight after that. But wait, it's Hollow type on Zul. He calls, guys, I have the best flank ever, and look him straight onto Canuti. Instantly just almost one-shots the Valor here. The Aegis already went down at ETC, and he does end up training 1-for-1, but he gets the kill. Vask, though, look at the mosh pit. It was slightly late. He waited slightly too long. Godstorm, perfect pathing, walks out of it. And Sweden, they're so greedy. They want more. They keep chasing, but Godstorm, he still has Twilight Dream. So here he goes again. Another Twilight Dream, secures the kill on Vask, hits the Oreo as well, just in case she had anything that could save him.
He actually dodged the power slide with that as well.
Exactly.
He dodged Twilight Dreamed him on the way
down,
past.
and then Twilight Dreamed as the power slide came through. So Godstorm making the plays in the early game.
Really, really nice here. And, well,
I've got one extra replay.
You've got one extra replay.
I've got one extra replay. And it's the boss fight,
We've been waiting for that
So
one.
let's get into it. This is absolutely... So Sonya's already back, and that's the insane thing. Aegis has to come out before the boss is even gone down. Now, Every's so low, but look, the Zul, mortal wound at 20, completely denies the healing from the Oreo, as she just cannot get anything. And then Sonya, out of nowhere, comes in, takes the boss.
Actually crazy to see that she casually was walking in. She wasn't even down it.
It was the last hit of Valor's Q. It was the last hit.
Last bounce.
It bounces, it circles all the way around. Gordon only just dies. The overkill on that was maybe 10 HP. It was so close.
Really, really nicely done here. And once again, we were hyping up a couple of the SNG players here, which I did get one wrong, by the way. Larinus, very big apologies to you, friend. But right now, we are seeing unknown players starting to take games from well-known players. And that's fantastic. And I'm interested to see what the vote percentages are. Remember, guys, you can vote using hashtag SEWin for Sweden or hashtag PTWin for Portugal. We'll keep an eye on that a little bit later on. But right now, we're going to start looking a bit away from game number 1 and start looking towards game number 2. I don't see a huge amount that would need to be changed from either of the teams, but where could potentially Sweden have changed it to maybe have taken that?
So I think Sweden made a mistake. They went for a comp that was maybe a bit too comfortable for them, but it was actually a risky comp. It was solo support oil, and as you mentioned, Tetra, in the cast, there were so many times when the Aegis was the only tool that they had to actually save their team. And it was used, and then there was Fear, and then there was still Root, and then there was still Stun. There were so many tools, even Twilight Dream, which was huge, by the way, in so many of the fights, especially after 20, despite not taking Astral Communion, which might have been able to secure the game a lot earlier for them.
Yeah, and keep in mind that Henning also wasn't in his comfort zone. You could really see the Oriel not fitting his playstyle. He's known to be a very aggressive support, with Uther Rhaegar going for those massive plays and enabling his teammates. This time, he always had the impression that he was forced to react solely, casting the Crystal Aegis, keeping everybody safe, using that Determined Strike because Muradin was constantly in his face. And I think it was more like Portugal really putting up the pressure, so that Sweden had to look terrible on camera. It's so hard to say what they could do differently.
The next map is going to be Cursed Hollow, guys.